everyone, and welcome to another edition of the 450 Wrestling Podcast. We are going all out this week because, AEW, I know, puns. Joining me as always, which is I, JJPHR, are my two resident wrestling nerds, Karl and Matt. What's going on, guys?
Yeah, it's been good this week. A lot of good wrestling out there, if you're not watching WWE, that is. Because, frankly, who's watching that crap anymore? And that's reflected in the ratings.
Yeah. God.
But yeah, a good couple of shows from AEW recently that we're going to cover this week, as well as going over our predictions from last week, see who did well and who didn't do well, and who really needs to study wrestling more. And boy, do we have some interesting topics elsewhere to go over as well, considering Vince McMahon has decided to shut down third-party involvement for all sorts of good stuff. So, yeah, we good this week.
Yeah, that was just some weird stuff. But for myself, Matt Balthies, I had a good week, just a fantastic week of wrestling and stranger wrestling news. That's what wrestling news is weird now.
It definitely is kind of strange, but we'll get to that after some AEW. So, obviously, before All Out, we had the go-home show for AEW Dynamite. So I'm just going to blow through the results here because it's been a while. I mean, if you've seen the show, you pretty much already know what happened. But just for those who haven't seen it, Santana and Ortiz defeated the Best Friends. Young Bucks and Jurassic Express defeated Private Party and SCU, thus meaning the Young Bucks will face Jurassic Express, their partners, All Out. That was kind of really weird. Chris Jericho defeated Joey Janela in his little tune-up match. Thunder Rosa had her debut, defeating former WWE superstar Serena Deeb. And Jon Moxley defeated, in a storyline match, Mark Sterling, who was MJF's lawyer. So, yeah, definitely a storyline-heavy edition of Dynamite. This was something that Tony Khan actually talked about, saying that he wanted to focus on wrestling all the way up into the final show before pay-per-view, and then on the go-home show, do a more storyline-oriented product. And actually, it kind of makes sense. I kind of like that. So, sorry to you this week, Karl. What did you think of Dynamite, and do you think the storyline format works a little bit better on a go-home show than pure wrestling?
Yeah, I'll definitely agree. The storyline format, sort of making sure that you've got all your storylines up to date and ready for that big push at the pay-per-view, is a great way to do it. It's better than just throwing shit at a wall and see what happens, which is what happens with the other company. And yeah, it's like making sure that you are hyped. You know what's going on. You know that everything is. This is, here's your storyline. Here's your heat to take it to the pay-per-view. And then all of a sudden it's like, cool, all right, I'm caught up on everything. I don't need to have to check in every week, but I do anyway because it's good stuff.
Yeah, I like the format. It was like, how to put this? It's not like it's a bunch of recycled video packages telling the story like another company does. And even though myself is, spoiler, I do pay for the Wrestling Observer, and Dave and his crew didn't like this format, and I'm like, whatever, Dave, it was in Japan. But it's interesting that they thought the show was weak because the fact it's focused so heavy on story rather than like straight wrestling like they usually do. I think this is a great change of pace because it can allow people to watch the show and get what the idea is going on and maybe decide to get the pay-per-view or not, which pushed them towards it because a go-home show, go home and buy the pay-per-view. Just hand in hand makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, in case you didn't realize it, guys, storylines actually exist in this thing called professional wrestling, and sometimes you just have to tell them, especially before a big event. So that's what AEW did, and that led us into All Out. So obviously, before we get to the main card, we had a couple of matches on the buy-in. Originally, I believe they bumped Britt Baker versus Big Swole to the buy-in, and then the day of, they bumped it back to the main card and gave us a different match in this spot, which was kind of weird. But the first match, which was advertised, was Joey Janela defeating Serpentico. And of course, if you were doing predictions and if you treated predictions like a bingo card, this was your free space because contracted talent versus enhancement talent. Gee, I wonder who's going to win. A little less predictable, maybe. Private Party ends up defeating Dark Order members 3 and 4, who is the 29-year-old John Silver and Alex Reynolds. So, yeah, he's not a baby. He's 29, according to Silver, but we all know otherwise. I thought this was a great match. I thought it was pretty good as far as like action is concerned. Silver and Reynolds unfortunately do the job again, but they still looked like $1 million in this match. And honestly, after what we saw, how they opened the show, which we'll get to in a second, I probably would have put this on the main card and had this open the pay-per-view rather than what they did. But Karl, what was your thoughts on the buy-in and the two matches that we got?
Oh, look, I like the buy-in, the fact that we actually get two matches and they don't. They actually give the matches some real time to actually get out there and showcase what the wrestlers can do, versus what we get on the kickoff show, which is like 7,000 minutes of friggin' video packages, and then oh look, here's a couple of 5-minute matches. No, we get like some good 10, 15-minute matches, especially when tag teams are involved. For Janela and Serpentico, I was actually very impressed by both men. They both put on an absolutely spectacular performance, and it was a good way to sort of get everything hyped up and ready to go in the early stages. Private Party versus Dark Order. Oh wow, phenomenal match. Like, this is probably one. Like, if we go for like a match of the buy-in, this is definitely match of the buy-in, because these two teams worked so well together, and some of the combinations that were pulled off by both teams, and just we're sitting there going, wow, okay, that was a good combination. Wow, you kicked out of that? Okay, wow, this is okay. How high can you guys sort of go in a pre-show? And like you said, Josh, Private Party versus Dark Order should have been a main event on the main card, because it was that type of really, really good match that was solid ring work, great combinations, great tag team wrestling, as much as we bitch about AEW and their tag team matches. But still, it was a testament to what that tag team division is all about.
Yeah, definitely. Joey Janela, the buy-in, I feel like if you watch him over his entirety AEW, he's getting better and better. I feel his improvements there. And he's not my favorite wrestler, but it's nice to see him actually kind of, it's like gradual steps. Pirate Party vs. Dark Order was a clinic. Silver and Reynolds are like really, like, much like I feel about Stu Grayson and Uno, they just really underappreciate. These guys make you look good. They have great combinations. They sell. It's like, wow, these guys are really dark horses for a Dark Order. So that match was great. Pirate Party was phenomenal too. It seems like Pirate Party got back to the swing of things. Because Josh, remember like a couple of months or weeks ago, they looked not as good. They looked kind of ring rusty, if that's a term.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So basically, they're back. Pirate Party's back in form. 3-4. Reynolds Silvers did a great job. Great buy-in match. Could have been on the main card, but I appreciate them giving it to me. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, most definitely. So that brings us to the main card, and this was kind of the weird thing, is they started off with Big Swole versus Dr. Britt Baker in their cinematic match. And I guess you could call it cinematic, but at the same time it's not, because when you look at a WWE cinematic match, you could definitely tell it's like cinema. When you look at an AEW cinematic match like this, it just reminds you of the old Attitude Era backstage brawls, except this time it was taking place in Britt Baker's actual real-life dentist office. So it was actually more entertaining than I thought it was going to be, and I thought they did this well to help protect both wrestlers. Because we saw the absolute debacle 2 weeks ago with Big Swole when she took on Penelope Ford and was it Reba in that handicap match? That was absolutely terrible. And we all know from Britt Baker's past that she's not as good as her boyfriend in the ring. We'll just say that. So they did this great match inside of the dentist's office. They beat each other with diplomas. They did the whole, dumpster spot, because they revisited that whole part with the storyline. And then the ending came when Britt Baker tried to inject Big Swole with Novocaine, and she turned around and stuck it in her leg, and she sold the hell out of that. And then she gets in her chair, and then Big Swole puts the anesthesia mask over her, and she passes out, and it's over. I thought that was absolutely brilliant for a finish, and kudos to Britt Baker for selling the Novocaine on the leg. That was absolutely amazing. Entertainment value was there. Obviously, it wasn't a quote-unquote wrestling match. It was, a brawl in the dentist's office. But for what it was, I'm actually giving this Britt Baker's highest rating that I have given her in AEW so far, 3.5. What about you, Karl?
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you, Josh. This thing was entertaining from beginning to end. The spots were well planned out. The story was told really well. The two girls, well, technically three girls, worked well together in that environment, taking advantage of what little you can in a doctor's office, especially a dentist's office, because there's really not that much there to interact with when you really take a look at things. But Britt Baker was selling the quote-unquote Novocaine to the leg, but anybody who paid attention to it, she'd actually squeezed all the Novocaine out before the needle anywhere near her leg. But selling it like she had actual Novocaine in the leg, loved it. So it's like it was numb. She was dragging it along. It just didn't work. And then she got the anesthesia mask for and it was just as soon as she was out, the ref called it. It wasn't this, we're going to drop the arm 3 times, we're going to call it a tap out. It was like, okay, I can tell she's out. Game over. I also give this 3.5 out of 5 because, frankly, it was entertaining. You don't need to put on like an actual full-blown huge wrestling match in order to put on an entertaining match. That's what a lot of people forget. Everybody think work rate equals a great match. No, it's how entertained you are by the match that counts. And we were thoroughly entertained by this match. So, yeah, it wasn't like the WWE cinematic style, but it was enough to sort of remind you, almost like you said, it was like watching the old Goldust Roddy Piper backlot brawl type thing. Like you could tell it was pre-recorded, but at the same time, it was realistic enough that you're like, okay, I can enjoy this. I'm just going to sit back and watch some absolutely stupid shit.
Yeah, the match was just fun. The guys, right? It was just it's Britt Baker's best match, and I'm heartbreaking to say that because I just couldn't believe that she could entertain me. She's been literally as some people say, the shits. She's been the shits for a long time, so why just accepted it? But this match was just phenomenal, from its comedy to the spots they delivered. She didn't sell the asthma, but she didn't sell the anesthesia, but she sold Novocaine. So I'll give her a 3.5 as well.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I got it. I mean, she passed out from it, quote unquote, and then she was like awake, like way too soon. Like I don't know anyone who comes out of anesthesia that quickly. So
exactly,
she was up within 30 seconds. I'm sorry, even if they did hold the mask on her for what would have been at least a 20 count, she would have been out for like at least an hour, 2 hours maybe. But like it was fine. Okay, they wanted to get a reaction shot. That's fair enough.
Yeah. It was just really good, and I agree. It was more like a black lock brawl than a cinematic match with obvious cuts and everything. I was just really surprised. Maybe she should just do cinematic matches. Maybe I'll be entertained by that.
hey, we can only hope, right?
We can only hope.
All right, so the first actual pro wrestling match of the night was the one that was set up on Dynamite. The Young Bucks going up against Jurassic Express. And if you've seen a Young Bucks Jurassic Express match before, you pretty much knew exactly what you were going to get. And it was nonstop. And I don't want to say car crash wrestling because that was a term thrown around a lot, but it's kind of pretty much a Young Bucks match, if you know what I mean. Still very entertaining. Excellent chemistry between these two teams, and obviously Young Bucks get the win. I really thought that Jurassic Express could actually benefit from the win here, but they added the stipulation to the match kind of late where the winning team would receive a shot in the future at the AEW World Tag Team titles. Given what was coming up later on in this evening, it made it a little bit predictable as to who is going to win because obviously they've got the who's the best tag team in the world storyline going on right now between the Young Bucks and FTR. So it kind of spoiled a couple of matches once they add that stipulation. You would have hoped they would have done something different, but they didn't. But the action was still very good. And I think both of us, or actually most of us, went in the 4-star range for this one because it was just absolutely entertaining to watch. So, Karl, what did you think of this match?
This is the highlight of tag team wrestling in AEW. Two of the best teams available out there that don't hold gold right now, showing why they should have the gold. Jurassic Express, like especially Luchasaurus, holy crap! Some of the things that man can do, like standing moonsaults off the apron, diving fucking tope con hilos and lucharanas and whatever else, and then he plays the big man card. Like anytime, I think it was Matt Jackson kept going up trying to hit things off the top rope, and he'd be like, "Nope, you're going to either catch my fist, or I'm going to choke slam you, or I'm going to throw you around like you're a rag doll." Just the cutoffs were absolutely brilliant. The Bucks were their usual flippy dippy, Mexican jumping bean selves, even though they're not Mexican. That they're well known for, and putting on again. It's one thing I love about tag team wrestling in AEW is that they love using combination moves. Like I'm not just talking like going for the Meltzer driver or the BTE kick or something like this. It's like simple things like, oh, I've got you in a dragon. I got you in a full Nelson hold. Okay, so here comes here comes the other guy, kicks the opponent in the face, and all of a sudden that full Nelson turns into a dragon suplex, and the other guy dives over for a roll-up pinfall. It's like amazing combinations that come out of nowhere that really show that these guys have studied what makes tag team wrestling tag team wrestling. It's not just one guy getting in the ring against another and then tagging out every now and again just so you can change partners. It's working with your partner, isolating body parts, working body parts. It's just done in a way that I just can't sort of believe that we're still seeing in this day and age, because when you think about it, the way wrestling has been going, it's been going into a very generic, you must follow this company's style type thing. And to have a company that's going, all right, we're going to show you what real tag team wrestling is all about. And then you get matches like this. I'm like, absolutely brilliant. Love it. Want more of it. Again, 4 stars.
Oh yeah, this was a beautiful match. I mean, this match to me would have been the best tag match of the night, so we get the later tag match. But this was just, even though it had a predictable ending, which takes a little off it, it was just well done. It was beautiful. Everyone got the spot in. Luchasaurus did not do his typical, double choke slam, double spin kick. No, he did a whole bunch of things that was impressive. It was Big Man Can Fly. Sorry, guys. It was great. I just can't wait till we bust out single, but at the same time, it was just a really strong, entertaining match. It was it was a near masterpiece. That's why I rate this. If I had to give it a 5, near masterpiece out of 5.
Yeah, most definitely. I just hated the predictability of it, but hey,
Yeah.
what can you do? Still an entertaining match. And up next, we had the 21-man casino battle royale. And of course, if you don't know how this works, basically 4 groups draw a card, and then when that card suit is called, those 4 people come out, or in this case 5 people, whatever it is, and then the person who draws the Joker card will come out as the 21st entrant. So the first group consisted of Trent, Christopher Daniels, Jake Hager, The Blade, and Ray Phoenix Jr. Group 2 was Kazarian, Will Hobbs, Chuck Taylor, Santana, and Ortiz. Group 3 was Billy Gunn, Penta El Zero M, who was Pentagon Jr., now under a new name because copyrights for some reason. Ricky Starks, Brian Cage, and Darby Allin. Group 4, Sean Spears, Eddie Kingston, The Butcher, Sonny Kiss, and Lance Archer. And then the Joker card, former Ring of Honor professional wrestler and high-flying extraordinaire, Matt Sydal. Notice I did say former WWE because we don't talk about Evan Bourne. So, yeah, this whole Battle Royale was actually better than I thought. It was actually entertaining. The only thing I didn't like was that some people got eliminated and there wasn't really any camera angles like the WWE does that actually showed the elimination. So if you didn't catch it out of the corner of your eye, sometimes you missed a couple of them. So that has to really do with the way Daily's Place is set up, with how they had the hard camera set up for the pandemic era and stuff like that. So it kind of hurt the eliminations a little bit, but outside of that, everything was entertaining, and of course, we have to talk about it. I'm sorry, Mr. Sydal, but I don't know if this is his AEW debut, but he definitely showed up. I don't know if he's just being used on a per thing basis. We do not have an Evan. I almost said Evan Moore. Wow. If we don't have a Matt Sydal is All Elite graphic yet, but he comes out, gets in some kicks on Sean Spears, goes up top for his patented shooting star press on Will Hobbs. His foot slips, and thankfully he's okay, but he took a nasty back bump on the canvas, and yeah, not exactly a highlight moment for his career, but honestly, when I was looking at the internet, looking at things like Twitter, you won't believe the amount of support that he still got despite the botch, because people just know who Matt Sydal is. Unfortunately, though, according to a live report, not many people were happy to see Matt Sydal because they were expecting simply somebody else. I actually
Really?
thought it was Nick Aldis who would have come out, but I was happy. I mean, I popped pretty big for Matt Sydal. But yeah, tough, debut. If that was his debut, maybe he was signed and then got unsigned after the shooting star botch. And Tony's like, I don't know what you're talking about. What contract? I don't know. But still, overall entertaining battle royale, which Lance Archer won. So that was actually my pick. I'm happy about that. But now Lance Archer will be facing the winner of tonight's main event at a future date for the AEW World Championship. So, Karl, what are your thoughts on the Casino Battle Royale?
All hail the Murderhawk. Yeah, this was pretty much a stereotypical battle royale, like you said, just due to the production that it was, where you missed a few eliminations because of the way they got everything set up. Otherwise, you had guys come in, they get their licks in, they get a quick pop, get thrown out. Not bad. Matt Sydal, though, poor guy, absolutely craters. About as bad as Brock Lesnar during WrestleMania on that shooting star press. I don't know why it is. Anytime a guy goes for a shooting star press, it's a bad idea. Hopefully that didn't cost him a chance to actually be on the AEW roster. I would love to see more of Matt Sydal appearing on AEW television, maybe getting a chance at maybe the TNT Championship or something like that down the line. But like the way this was set up, there was some pivotal moments in this that sort of got me going, okay, I want to see this. It was like Lance Archer up against Brian Cage, and I think it was Will Hobbs or something. Like
Will Hobbs
the bigger
versus
guys.
it was Will Hobbs hit a spine buster, and I think it was Archer, or was it Cage?
Make Arn Anderson cry a bit more backstage. But it's like just seeing some of the potential ideas for feuds and like setups for future matches that way down the line that could come about because of this particular match, and just the combinations thereof really just made this something to watch, because you can see a lot of guys learning to work together, guys who have worked together for a long time working together, and guys that have never worked together. You're going, can we book this in a match soon, please? But yeah, this will be a 3.5 for me, easy.
Yeah, around the same point. I think it was a very interesting battle royale. Matt's still fine. I thought he was still contract to Ring of Honor when I saw him. Like, oh, I guess he's out, or it's a appearance. Please leave Ring of Honor. But yeah, it would be great to see him in a more ring capacity if he gets a full contract with AEW. Hopefully, the contract will slip from under him. So, sorry, but it was a good battle royale. And to think about Pentagon Jr., now he's a Penta El Cero M, it's because the Pentagon family, the whole thing is owned by AAA, so that's why he changed his name to El Cero M, the name he used in Lucha Underground like once or twice or independently. So yeah, it just gets you sent. People still call him Pentagon. That's the weird part too. Yep.
Yeah, this is a weird thing, but can we talk about Will Hobbs for a second? Like, every time I see this guy, like, my God, he just impresses the hell out of me. And when COVID is over and we're able to have full stadium of fans and AEW starts making more money again, for the love of God, please reward this guy and make him all elite. I think he's one of the very few of the enhancement talents, along with Serpentico, Ivelisse, and Diamante, that have all earned their contracts, I think.
Oh God, yes. He makes that spine busters finisher.
Yeah.
Get him that contract, man. Black matches matter, as we were calling it tonight.
Yeah. Every brother up to this point was just winning and just hitting 6 spots. Shouts to the brothers in AEW, y'all and sisters, y'all were hitting everything on points that night.
Yeah, most definitely. Black matches do matter, but unfortunately, black clouds do too, because there's one over our next match. I like that segment. All right, so we have the Broken Rules match between Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. And it starts off in the concourse between Daly's Place and the TIAA Bank Arena, aka the Jaguar Stadium. And it starts off pretty good. Sammy's in the golf cart, and he's looking to get his revenge on Matt Hardy for not slowing down and causing him to take a full bump on a moving golf cart so many months ago at the Stadium Stampede match. And yeah, they move on to a scissor lift, and there's an obvious table spot coming up. Looks like Matt's about to hit the twist of fate off the top of the scissor lift when all of a sudden Sammy breaks free, goes for the spear, and Matt smacks the back of his head against the concrete. And that's pretty much it. It was a very, very scary moment. We could definitely tell that he was knocked out. Sammy tried to pick him up after they semi-determined he was able to go, and Matt just couldn't get his footing. And that's when we thought they were going to call the match, but they brought Matt back into the backstage area, and apparently they did a 30-minute concussion protocol in about the span of 30 seconds and determined that he was good to finish the match. And they went right into the finish where they went out onto the stage. They climbed a scaffold, and he pushed Sammy Guevara off through a gimmick staging area. Therefore, Matt Hardy wins, and he keeps his AEW contract, which, if you didn't know, the stipulation was AEW, his contract would, his company here would be null and void if he lost the match, and he would leave forever. So, yeah, there's a lot of backlash on this one because a lot of people say that they should not have continued the match. They should have ended it right there when he got hurt, and they should have taken care of it. Now there's conflicting reports that he went to the hospital after the match and was cleared after a CT scan and MRI and all that stuff. And then his wife, Rebby, was on Twitter saying, no, he had another scan after that and he has a concussion. So there's conflicting reports. This is a big mess. There's a lot of heat on Tony Khan and AEW for it. But yeah, I feel, the match could have gone maybe 20, 25 minutes if that spot didn't happen, but unfortunately it was cut to around 5 minutes with good purpose. I, too, don't think they should have continued the match. As soon as, Matt hit the ground and they threw up the X, that should have been it. That should have been the end of the match. Fans would have understood, and, yeah, they should have moved on with the card. But, yeah, very unfortunate situation there. What could have been an amazing match, but apparently Matt will be on Dynamite this Wednesday, so we will see just the extent of his injuries and what's going to happen with him from there. So, Karl, what are your thoughts on the whole situation with Matt Hardy and his head?
Look, as someone who has been in the ring as a performer, who has taken such bumps as, through a table, chair shots to the head, I've actually had 4 concussions myself in the time that I was in the ring. They're not good to have. They are basically putting bruising on your brain to the point where you are going to have issues. Some people might notice that I have a bit of a stutter when I'm talking and I lose my train of thought at times. This is because of those concussions. When it comes to this particular match, yeah, I definitely agree that as soon as the X went up, as soon as they realized Hardy was out, he was full-blown out. Like, I'm not talking he had his eyes open and glazed over. He was eyes closed, basically taking a goddamn nap. As soon as that happened, they should have called it there and then, pulled the camera off and gone to something else. But Matt, being the professional that he is, probably turned around and said, look, I can go, just give me a minute, which is why they had to switch it over to the main ring area and just sort of get it off, both guys off camera for a moment, just so Matt could take a few seconds. He probably had a slug of water, shook it off, kept going, got out there. But as soon as he got out there, you could tell on Matt's face, he was not fully there. And that's what happens when you go, some people, especially those long-term wrestlers, have been hit in the head, got a concussion. They go into an autopilot mode. And that's what's happened to Matt here, is Matt's wrestling instincts have kicked in. And he's like, I can do it, but I can guarantee you that today he would not remember what the fuck happened after he lodged off the scaffold, or even before it, actually. He would have thought, oh yeah, I remember running away from Sami, and then nothing. That's how these concussions work. They literally will wipe out part of your memory for a point in time. I can only remember clearly one time of my concussions out of the 4 I've had, and that's after nearly 6 years of being out of the business. But look, they went through. They wanted to get a winner, and again, it's up to the performer if they wish to continue. The doctor can only do so much. The doctor is there more of a guide. They are not the ultimate authority. If the wrestler says, I'm going to keep going, then they're gonna keep going. Have a look at guys like Sabu, who does nothing but hardcore matches. Believe me, I've been in situations where I have looked that man in the face during the middle of a match and said, dude, you need to stop. And he's going, fuck off, I'm going to keep going. It's just the way some of these guys are built. I'm not even going to bother rating this. I don't think any of us are going to rate this. This is a non-competitive out of 5. But
this was a should have stopped the match out of 5.
Yeah. This is it. Should have been over a while ago. But look, hopefully we find out this week on Dynamite the truth from Matt himself. Exactly, what happened, how he's able to fix it. The fact that he's going to address people on Dynamite means that he is going to be okay in the long run, which is really good. Good on him. But I still agree they should have stopped after the bump. They should not have tried to continue that, even if Matt was pushing for it. Should have just turned around and said, nope, not going to happen. We're going to go and start something else.
Yeah, it's like watching people like give crap to Tony about the protocol and whatnot. And as you pointed out earlier, Karl, like the doctor is a guide. Like the man has agency, free will. He's going to make the choice. I don't agree with the choice. I respect he finished as a professional. I respect that he did that, but at the same time, it's like, damn, man. And I think Josh may have pointed this earlier in the chat, talking to us backstage. Matt Hardy has the worst luck. The worst luck. He came out broken, no crowd. He's got stitches from getting hit by a bad chair spot, and now this. I think just take a vacation, just like someone's vacation and relax. It's just that was very scary. Just watch him plop like that. I was like, oh Lord.
Oh, you can guarantee that it's after Dynamite, they're going to say to Matt, look, you're going to have to take a couple of weeks off. Like Dynamite will be where he'll be taken off television 2 to 4 weeks, just to make sure that he is 100% before they let him back in the ring.
Yeah, and one of the things I worry about is Matt nearly retired in WWE because of back issues. So when he took that bump, it's not more about just the neck, it's also his back as well. And I've made numerous comments over the time on this podcast about how Matt actually moves nowadays because of that. And he doesn't look, limber. He looks very, very stiff, and it has to do with his back. And all I can think of is when he wanted to continue was Mitsuharu Misawa. Here is a guy who literally took some of the worst bumps on his neck, his shoulders, and then unfortunately one day, so many years ago, he took a basic back body drop, and that was it. It basically gave him cardiac arrest. It severed his spine, and he died right there instantly in the ring. And I don't want to see that happen to Matt Hardy. So when I saw that spot and he was out, all I could think of was it was Misawa all over again. So thank God he is okay. But I'm more or less worried about both the head and the back at this point. I think he really needs to take a step back and, reevaluate what he's doing right now. So, yeah, definitely scary stuff. But moving on, we had the dream match that we've all been looking forward to. This was the AEW Women's Champion Hikaru Shida going up against the NWA Women's Champion Thunder Rosa. And my God, this match did not disappoint. It was slower paced than you would normally expect a match to be, but that was fine because not everything has to be what I alluded to earlier with the Jurassic Express Young Bucks match, car crash wrestling. It does not have to be that way. Sometimes when you bring the pace down, work the holds, and tell a story, it all comes together, and that's exactly what this match did. We were all thinking Thunder Rosa would actually come out of this on top in a very shocking upset and become a double champion, thus leading to a possible NWA AEW relationship. But Hikaru Shida retained the championship and continued to look very strong in doing so. So I loved the back and forth that these two had. I loved the classic, Southern style wrestling that they put on, which was, just absolutely beautiful and indicative of what the NWA stood for, back in the day and even today when they were running Power. So, this was just classic pro wrestling, bell to bell, and I'm giving this 4.5 stars. Absolutely beautiful women's title match. Karl, what about you?
God, talk about living up to expectations. We were saying as soon as this match got announced that this was the one that was going to quite possibly be the show stealer of the night. And man, we pretty much almost called it on that one. Can't really say much else that you haven't already said, Josh. You've already put it in the way that I'd be putting it as well. We were seeing moves that haven't been brought out in a long time, like the cradle.
Yeah.
From Sun, was it Cheetah on Rosa or Rosa on Cheetah?
It was Rosa on Cheetah, I believe.
Yeah, and it was one of those moves that we sort of went, well, you don't see that anymore in wrestling. And yeah, it's like they told a good story. They worked the limbs. They put on a good Southern style match. I would have loved to have seen this have gone on longer, to be honest. Just put these two in an Iron Woman match and see who wins.
Oh God, that's 5 stars right there.
Yeah, like there's money to be made just between these two alone. But with Thunder Rosa in the division, hopefully now, for quite a while, it means that we're going to see some very good matchups between Thunder Rosa and some more competitors in AEW. And if this is indicative of what the debut or the first match is going to be like, God, you could only imagine what's going to happen 3 or 6 months down the line.
Yeah, most definitely. And I gotta say that, even the match with Serena Deeb on Dynamite was close to 4 stars. I mean, this is what AEW's women division is missing right now, is just pro wrestling. And when you have people like Riho and Chris Statlander out on injury, and Shanna and Emi Sakura and all these other talents that are just trapped because of COVID, they need some replacement stars. And Thunder Rosa is definitely going to be one of them if she sticks around a little bit more, which it looks like she might, because they're teasing Shida Rosa 2 now on Twitter. So, Matt, what were your thoughts on this match?
Nice. Oh, I love this match.
But by the way, it was, again, 4.5 out of 5.
Oh yeah. That's not even my grade. Like 4.5.
I keep forgetting the star ratings.
You could always just say great match out of 5. Sometimes I just say, but this was honestly a great match out of 5. I loved it. I'm a huge fan of Thunder Rosa. I love NWA. It's one of my favorite programming since Nick Aldis and Brody Corgan took over the show. 10 Pounds of Gold. I love that. This was just a wrestling match I wanted to see. It was done beautifully. A story told. It was paced. It was back and forth. It was a proper ebb and flow to wrestling, and the finish was good. Thunder Rosa put on a great. This is a stellar match. This is what I agree AEW women wrestling need. They need a star per se. They also need proper booking like this, because I'm going to say I had a lot of doubt for Swole versus Britt, but the way they booked that and put it together, that's what they need. They need to realize how to work with these women. You can't make them all like a cookie cutter or whatever indie wrestling. Work with their strengths. You work with Shida's strengths is coming from a Joshi style wrestling. You work with Thunder Rosa's real MMA and shoot experience. You put it together in a match, and boom, you get a fucking masterpiece. 4.5. Please make 2 an Iron Woman match.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but they're definitely teasing it. I would love to see it. I would pay money to see that match, even if it was on free TV. That's how good it was. So, up next, guys, we finally did it. We had an 8-man tag team match that wasn't a clusterfuck. That actually had rhyme and reason to it. It's a miracle. But yes,
Christmas miracle.
Yes, the Natural Nightmares of Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall teamed up with Matt Cardona, formerly known as Zack Ryder, and Scorpio Sky to defeat the Dark Order of Brody Lee, Colt Cabana, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson. And this was quite possibly the worst ending of the night. Why in the hell would you job out the Dark Order in both the buyout or buy-in and the main card after a TNT Championship victory and another victory over the Natural Nightmares? Talk about halting all momentum. That was absolutely piss poor decision on TK's, whoever booked this as a decision. I don't like it. They should have actually won here. It would have not hurt the Natural Nightmares. It would not hurt Zack Ryder, aka Matt Cardona, or Scorpio Sky at all. Well, maybe it would have hurt them because they're trying to do singles pushes with Scorpio Sky, but that was pretty much all said and done when he lost his match to Cody, so who knows. But still, Dark Order should have gone over here. I know Colt Cabana took the pinfall loss after screwing up, and I know that's part of a storyline, but there's other ways to book it. Colt Cabana could have possibly cost him the match almost to only have Mr. Brody Lee save him. And then Brody Lee could have had it out with Colt saying, what the fuck are you doing? Hit yourself in the head with a roll of papers or, some stupid shit like that. And put the blame on him for almost losing the match, but still pulled it out. There could have been different ways to book it, but in the end, Dark Order should have gone over here. Now they got Brody Lee versus Dustin Rhodes in a TNT Championship match out of this, which obviously Brody Lee is going to win, but is that really enough to save the momentum? I'm not sure. Match itself was fine. Like I said, it was not a clusterfuck like we usually see with these 8-man tags. There was some nice rhyme or reason to it, but it was still, in all, just a little bit above average, so I'm going 3 stars on this match. Karl, what are your thoughts on this?
Saw this in a bit of a different light. I did see it as a bit of a cluster, but then again, I think by that point I was still reeling from, Matt Hardy's big bump earlier in the night. I think that did affect the energy for the rest of the show. Like from there on out, like matches sort of seemed to go a bit longer. They didn't feel like they were as crisp as they would have been under the standard time frames. There's like people were still trying to do extra stuff on the fly, which is what happens when I reckon most of these matches would have been given about an extra 5 minutes each. I'm not into the whole Dark Order Natural Nightmare Nightmare Family storyline. I didn't really think too much of it outside of Cody getting absolutely decimated by Mr. Brody Lee. But at least they did that particular thing right. If you notice, the little subtleties in the storytelling was everybody else in the Dark Order was getting their asses whooped, except for Mr. Brody Lee, who was doing most of the damage. So it's showing that, Mr. Brody Lee is essentially the biggest, strongest thing in the Dark Order, and they're portraying him as such. Really didn't like the finish. I saw that coming from a mile away, where it was Colt Cabana who got set up for quite an easy win, botched it, and cost them the win. And hopefully this will lead to Colt Cabana being kicked out of the Dark Order and allowing him to sort of either leave the company, please, or, maybe see if he can sort of find a way to reinvent himself. This was probably the lowest one I'll have of the night, but even then I'm still saying that's a 3-star match.
Yeah. I didn't like the finish of the match, and I felt Dark Order as a group has to go over, not just Brody Lee. Like, I know that every group has like a tier list, like who's top and bottom. New Japan has it too. Like, Joe and Rumpeki 3 for Chaos, like maybe the lower end tier guys. But if you put Okada's above them, but you can't make Show and Rumpeki 3 look weak. It's just one of those things like, guys, the whole squad has to get over in some capacity. Storytelling was good. It wasn't a messy match. And now we got Dustin versus Mr. Brody Lee. It'll be cool to see Brody take a Canadian Destroyer. So that's it. So, 3.25.
Yep. And up next, we actually continue the tag team wrestling because that's what AEW is all about. It is the AEW Tag Team Championship match FTR, flanked by Tully Blanchard, against Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. And if we thought that the women's title match was a clinic, this match was a double clinic. We knew coming into this match this was probably going to be match of the night, possibly. The crowd even chanted, "This is awesome," before they even locked up. And what we got was more slow style Southern tag team wrestling. And yes, before you questioned it, the tag ropes were being used as per FTR stipulation in all their matches. And we expected a lot of things to happen in this match. One of them, of course, was the tease between Kenny Omega and Adam Page breaking up due to, well, being the Elite and all the stuff they've used to build up, the return of the cleaner. And then, of course, they had the whole thing with Adam Page costing the Young Bucks the shot at the tag team titles and finding out he was getting in his own head and all this other stuff. So there's obviously some dissension there, and they actually played to that during the match a little bit too, which we would expect them to do so. And it was beautiful. And then, of course, FTR, being the masterclass tag team that they are, did the classic, heel stuff, isolating body parts, isolating the guy from his corner, coming up with, creative ways to prevent tags from happening, double team moves. And this match kept going on and on and on. But even though it was slower paced than a normal match that we see out of these guys, it didn't feel boring. It kept you engrossed, it kept you entertained, and it kept your attention. And for the storyline, for the wrestling, and everything else in between, I'm crowning this match 5 stars, despite the fact that FTR won the match and became the new tag team champions in predictable fashion, because obviously the Young Bucks won earlier, so we know exactly where this is headed. But despite the predictability of it, what's coming down the line is going to be even more amazing than this. But I think, hands down, this is probably one of my favorite, if not the favorite tag team match for me in 2020 so far. It was that good. And that's saying a lot because we got that 6-star match at Revolution earlier. But that was, in my opinion, car crash wrestling. This was actual wrestling. And I know I'm not going to get some heat for that, but that's how I feel. I love the old Southern style classic stuff. So when something like that happens, I just gravitate toward it. But, Karl, what were your thoughts on this match?
5 fucking stars. This was absolutely perfection when it comes to tag team wrestling. But the thing was, it wasn't just tag team wrestling. They were telling multiple stories over the time. They were basically pushing the FTR to make sure they got that greatest tag team handled to get going into a feud with the Young Bucks and make sure they got the belts and everything else. And FTR showing why they are the tag team worldwide today. Quick tags, cutting off the corner, doing the combos, all that type of stuff that I love to see in tag team wrestling. Good old school tag team wrestling. But the other side to this was the story between Omega and Page. With Omega actually copying a lot of stuff because Page was always on the outside, knocked down, dragged out. And then we got what we saw it coming. We saw the miscommunication, and that would lead to the downfall of Omega and Page as a tag team. But it was what we knew had to happen to further the storyline. You need to find a way to break these guys up and to really, really see Kenny having that last vestige of, I'm ready to become the cleaner and destroy everyone. But luckily he sort of saw better of it, and it's like, okay, this is the final time I'm going to give you, mercy, Page, for what's happening, and just burns out faster than friggin' Sonic the Hedgehog out of that arena, basically grabbing the Young Bucks, saying, either you're coming with me or you're staying here, I don't care. And just, zoom, gone. Like, this really is one of those things where it's like, they told two good stories, they put on a really good, high-quality matchup. I don't think there was a point in this that we thought this is going too long or this is getting boring. We were entertained the entire time. And like I said, with our ratings, it's not so much the ring work, it's how much we were entertained that matters. And this was definitely worthy of that 5-star rating.
Oh, yeah. This was a beautiful match, 5-star. And what this match was to me, because I decided to rewatch, after watching this match, to rewatch 6-star, not Tokyo Dome, Elite Civil War match. And it's like the storytelling was such apparently beautiful, well done for me. In this Civil War, it was Hangman who was the hero. He had to prove himself that he was better than the Young Bucks. He was the star. The chip on his shoulder was there. And this time, you saw the failing of Hangman. You saw how he missed tags, botched spots, failure to help his team when he needed them. And Kenny had to be the hero, upsetting Kenny to go into overdrive and still couldn't win the match on his own, thus becoming the cleaner or frustrated, whatever. And just the effectiveness of FTR. It was just watching them pull in a clinic. All the spots they've done, from the high flying. It didn't even hit the Shatter Machine, or they call it Goodnight Express. I don't think it did. That's how good that match was, even needed their finish. It was just great. And from a storytelling aspect, it was just like a whole transformation of Hangman, the angry man with chip on his shoulder, to Hangman, the fallen hero, which is just great. 5-star classic stuff. Hangman really does have a future ahead of him. I'm looking forward to if he has a feud with Kenny or whatever happens to him, because that man is just talented, purely talented. To me, he was the star of that match. I mean, yes, FTR and Kenny was there, but I gotta give a lot of credit to Hangman.
Well, I mean, it's easy to. I mean, Hangman is pretty much the best story going in AEW right now. And people want to complain that AEW doesn't make stars. Look at Hangman Adam Page. Enough said. All right, so speaking of entertainment and how much we are entertained, that is exactly what the next match was all about. It was the Mimosa Mayhem match between Orange Cassidy and the Demo God, according to Tony Schiavone, because he doesn't know how to say the word demo. Chris Jericho. Dude, like, how hard is it to remember Demo God? Like Jim Ross was like ratings god. Tony Schiavone was like Demo God. I forgot. Like, I think even Taz called him something different. It's like, it's Demo God. It's like in his Titantron. It's not hard to figure out. Demographic, demo. Like, get it right, guys. But still, very entertaining match. You could win by pinfall, submission, or submerging your entire body, keyword entire body, into an 80-gallon vat of mimosa, of which there was 2 of them, one on each side of the ring. And the pinfall submission thing seemed really weird. Says, why would you have that in a match? Because obviously someone's going in the drink, all right? Someone's going in. They're getting dunked. So why have that in there? Because it gives them an excuse to tell a story in the ring and not just brawl around and try and dunk an opponent into a vat of orange juice and champagne. It gives the match more dimension and it gives it more purpose, and that's exactly what happened here between Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho. They did some spots in the ring. They obviously went to the outside and teased the whole dunking in. They brawled around ringside. It pretty much had all the components you could think of in a wrestling match built around a gimmick. And of course, Orange Cassidy hits the flying orange punch, I guess they're calling it, instead of the Superman punch, with Jericho up on the middle rope, I believe it was, on the outside, knocking him into the vat of orange juice. And given the 94-degree heat index at nearly 10 o'clock at night, I'm pretty sure Chris felt very good soaking up all that mimosa into his body. But I love the entertainment factor of this match. Obviously, it was not going to be a 5-star classic. It wasn't built that way to be. But Chris Jericho does it again, inventing a very entertaining match and putting over Orange Cassidy, who's now 2 up over Jericho in their feud. So, 3.5 stars. Entertaining, but it's definitely not going to be that masterclass that we saw earlier in the night. So, Karl, what are your thoughts on the Mimosa Mayhem match?
It made me thirsty.
Right? Where's my mimosa?
Yeah, exactly it. And I don't even drink champagne. But overall, like, these guys doing their best to sort of put on an entertaining match while not throwing each other into a big vat of orange juice and champagne which I'm quite sure Chris Jericho was very happy to be in after that 90-odd degree Florida heat. Definitely a really good match between these two. I've seen them put on better matches, like their first couple of encounters have actually been really, really good. This, you could tell, was sort of hampered by the gimmick instead of really being enhanced by it. But it did provide a lot of entertainment, and there was a few times where I think they were just dunking each other's heads into the mixture just so they could cool off and keep going. But yeah, this was good, and basically, Shivani screwing up Demo God. He's a Damian Wayne fan, so we just
he's already
he's already in the shit list. 3.5. Can see these guys put on better, and hope that they do continue this feud so that they both can put on better matches.
Yeah, I give this match the same, about 3.5. It was fun. It was enjoyable. It was the best way to cool off the intense match we had before. So, it was just fun. It was just sometimes that's all you need in wrestling. It was just a fun match. Was it technical class? No, but that's enough. That's okay. Sometimes you just, like as Carl said, you don't need, giant masterpiece dude destroying everything. That's all you need. Something simple.
Yeah, and I forgot if it was actually after this match before, but there was also a segment involving Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford where they announced their engagement. And yes, they are actually dating, and yes, they are actually, real life engaged. And that they will be announcing who their best man for their wedding is going to be this upcoming Wednesday on Dynamite. And now, obviously, they're teasing possibly a debut to someone else. We don't know. But that wasn't the big story here. The big story was when Kip Sabian's like, oh, there's this one more thing, and Penelope holds up a sign giving out Kip Sabian's Twitch account information, or not account information, but his Twitch address, so you can actually go watch him stream. And as soon as they do that, at the bottom of the screen, a graphic pops up. This message has been approved by All Elite Wrestling. Oh man. Yeah, we'll obviously get into the reason behind the joke a little bit later, but I thought that was absolutely hilarious. But this brings us to the main event, the AEW World Championship match between Jon Moxley and MJF with Wardlow at ringside. And the match itself, when I go back and I think about it, it wasn't bad, but I think it's because this was a pay-per-view at this point in time was looking to push the midnight hour. It was around 11:30, 11:45-ish, I guess, when we were in this match, and we were tired. We wanted to go to sleep. We wanted the comfort of our bed. Carl probably doesn't even know what the hell that means because he's in Bizarro Land in Australia, and it was opposite day for him. But still, for Matt and I, we were tired, and the slow pace was here, and it was very, very apparent. And it just made this match to us feel like it was just going to drag on forever. And when you've already gone through nearly 4 hours of pro wrestling, there's a point where you just want to say, okay, enough is enough. Just get it over with. But be that as it may, there was some good storytelling in this match, though. Obviously, the paradigm shift was banned, and Jon Moxley was going to lose the championship if he used the paradigm shift. And it all came down to, the end. He teased it throughout the match, or MJF got under his skin, and he wanted to use the paradigm shift. And he's like, no, I can't do it. And he goes for something else, and they keep going back and forth. And then finally, Wardlow distracts the referee and throws the Dynamite Diamond ring into the ring for MJF to pick up. And since the referee's back is turned, and since he sees MJF trying to cheat, Moxley's like, well, screw it. If he's going to cheat, I'm going to cheat. And he hits him with the paradigm shift. Referee doesn't see it, and he gets the 3 count. And, of course, MJF goes to Twitter afterwards. And he's like, so we're just not going to talk about the fact that he cheated?
Exactly.
And being heel god that he is. Absolutely beautiful stuff. I love the storytelling in the match. I love the ending to it. And I just thought it dragged in the beginning. It was exactly what I expected from an MJF and a Jon Moxley match, or maybe I should just say a Jon Moxley match, because we know MJF can go, and he put on a near 4-star classic with Jungle Boy not that long ago. So the hour of the night, the way the match was paced, I was falling asleep during it, but the ending really brought me around. And some good storytelling. So I'm going to go 3.75 stars on this match, just because it could have been better. But after I watched it again with, not a fatigued mind, it wasn't all that bad as I originally perceived. So there you go. Karl, what were your thoughts on the main event?
It was a good, solid match. What we expected out of these two. Again, I think it was the hour. I think by that point we were pushing we were somewhere well over 3 hours into a pay-per-view at that point. And I'm sorry, I don't know whether it's the fact that I'm just getting older or my brain just doesn't want to sit down and watch wrestling for that long anymore. But anything over 3 hours, I start to lose interest. By this point, I was very much like you guys. I want to actually go and take an afternoon nap. I actually did after the show was finished. I went and took an hour nap. But I ended up falling asleep during the finish. So I actually missed what the finish was, and thank God for replays. But it was a solid match between the two. Gave me exactly what I expected, though I think the timing and everything else just really sort of put that down. I think I definitely need to probably go and review this again over with some more fresh eyes. But for the time and everything that it was, I'll go 3.5 stars on it.
Yeah, I'm near the same boat as well. 3.5. It was enjoyable. It was slow paced, but I was so burnt, because of the length of that pay per view, which is not an AEW issue. Trust me, we all get it, but oh boy, it was good storytelling. It was solid. I love how John Moxley just pulled Toru Yano, the what sign? That was kind of cool towards the end, but yeah, it was probably one of John Moxley's better matches. But now we got him set up against Lance Archer, and they worked well together in New Japan. So I think they could put on a clinic together, hopefully, and with the right story and build, could be interesting. But man, I was so done. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Please, just him the ring. Let Heel God get it. But because now we know that Lance Archer is the Battle Royal winner, Heel God versus Monster is not a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. So that wraps up AEW All Out. I think the overall grade for me for this pay-per-view is going to be a B. I didn't think it was an A show. I do know the slower pacing did not sit well with some people. I enjoyed it because of wrestling, but obviously the Matt Hardy injury, the Matt Sydal botch, the fact that Dark Order didn't go over. There was some little stuff here and there that really stopped this from being an A-grade pay-per-view, but I thought it was a very, very solid effort overall from AEW. So, yeah, my grade's a B. What would you give it overall, Karl?
Yeah, I'll probably give it a B as well. Like, looking back on the show, yeah, there were tiny little bits and pieces I don't agree with booking-wise, but otherwise, most of the matches were solid for what they were. Again, it all comes down to, am I walking away from this feeling entertained, feeling like I got my money's worth? Hell yes. I did 2 weeks of WWE pay-per-views with SummerSlam and Payback that I paid, I think, about $16 something Australian for, and I felt like I had wasted my money. I paid $28 Australian for All Out, and I felt like I got every dollar's worth and then some. And when the lowest star rating I can give a match in the entire show is a 3, considering that was the highest point that we could give WWE matches,
Yeah,
it definitely says something about the product. Like, there were some 4s and 4s, 5s, 3.5s. It was plenty. I think we averaged about a 3.5 over all of this, and it's absolutely brilliant. To be able to sit there, watch a show, and walk away feeling fulfilled, like I had actually got my money's worth. So yeah, this is a good B show. If they just cleaned up the booking a bit, and we could have actually seen a full proper match between Sammy Guevara and Matt Hardy, I reckon this one would have been pushing an A easily.
Yeah, I'm around the same B. But yeah, same points. I compared to the last pay-per-view, I think it was Double or Nothing, which Double or Nothing was only saved by the CM Stampede. I can't recommend anything else besides CM Stampede. So they really stepped it up to not make that mistake again with the Lance Archer camera. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm telling you that the two things I remember from Double or Nothing is Lance Archer going camera face, the cameraman, and Stadium Stampede. And that to me was a huge waste of $50. Huge waste of $50 American dollars right there. So, yeah, this is a huge step up from that. That show was like a C- ish at best. This is a B. They really stepped up. I'm looking for the next pay-per-view, which will be Full Gear in November.
September 7th, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. And if I can say this, I know this is probably not the type of thing you should really be condoning on a podcast of any type. I'm not saying go and find like a pirated stream or anything of the AEW shows. No way. You should be supporting this company by buying the product. However, what I would say to a lot of Americans, because it's like you guys are paying $50 US a show. I paid $20 US for this show. So for those of you in America who want to try and save a few bucks and still get the same experience, get yourself a hold of a VPN or a browser VPN client or something. Go and get it from Fight TV instead of buying it through like your cable network or whatever. Because if you want to save some money, that'd be the way to do it. I know that's not the type of thing that we've tried to encourage, but in this day and age where the world is currently in a recession, you want to try and save as many dollars as possible. So if you can get it for $20 off Fight TV by using a VPN, do so.
Also, I'm an idiot. Today is September 7th. You're right, Matt. It's November 7th.
Woohoo!
And I didn't even fall off a scaffold. So, like, Jesus. Too soon?
Too soon.
Too soon, definitely.
Too soon.
But for our prediction results, as we'll sort of follow up with pay-per-views from now on when we can be bothered, so it'd probably be AEW pay-per-views only, not WWE. The results have come out. Basically, Josh got 6 out of 11. Matt got 6 out of 11 as well, and I got 9 out of 11. So what Josh got correct was Joey Janela, Private Party, Young Bucks, Lance Archer, FTR, and Orange Cassidy, with the rest all being incorrect guesses. Matt, for the most part, you got Joey Janela, Private Party, Big Swole, Young Bucks, FTR, and Orange Cassidy, with the rest being incorrect. For some reason, I don't know why you picked Luchasaurus for the 21-man Battle Royal.
But I thought he wasn't
in it.
Well, you gotta believe he'll just pop up and just like moonsault, and then like, oh, there we go, moonsault win. But
yeah,
I didn't care that much about the Battle Royale as much because they're not my jams. I'm not a Battle Royale guy.
And then for my 9, it was I got Joey Janela, Private Party, Big Swole, Young Bucks, Lance Archer, Matt Hardy, FTR, Orange Cassidy, and John Moxley. My only 2 wrong ones were picking Thunder Rosa and the Dark Order. So there you go. Shows I know wrestling. I know better than you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, you beat us. We had to do better. We had to know our wrestling better. And we'll try harder next time.
Get good, scrubs.
Yeah.
Get good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the news, which we only got really one thing to talk about this week, and we've alluded to it throughout the entire show. There was a note passed around, or a letter passed around from Vince McMahon to all the talent stating that they have 30 days, which effectively ends on October 2nd, to remove themselves from third-party platforms. They haven't really stated what that means, but we can only assume it's stuff like YouTube, Twitch, Cameo, TikTok, pretty much social media. And if they do not, they will either be fined, suspended, or terminated at WWE's discretion. So basically, it's going to be kind of a weird situation going here on out, and they kind of explained in an official statement that they would rather rely on partnerships with these third-party programs so WWE can pull in more money instead of having the talent work this stuff individually. But we can also understand from the talent standpoint the reason why they're doing it. A, it's to connect with fans, and B, is to earn extra money during the pandemic, because if you haven't noticed, WWE is not running house shows right now. They're basically taping Raw, SmackDown, and pay-per-views, and of course NXT and 205 Live and whatever other programming they have. But if it's not on television, they're not running it. And wrestlers who are not getting these bonuses or any of these checks from working these extra shows need to kind of find a way to make up for that. So they are streaming, they are interacting with fans, and they're getting subscriptions, donations, and all this other fun stuff through all these social media platforms. And then Vince McMahon is not liking it one bit. So he's trying to put an end to it, and it's not sitting well. There's even like former presidential candidates that are calling out Vince McMahon on this. People from around the industry are calling him out on it. But Vince McMahon is very stubborn and hard-headed. So the fact that he's going through with this shows he's not going to back down. The weirdest thing about this, though, and I don't know if it was with the language that he used in the letter or not, but he claims that you cannot use your wrestling name or your real life name because he owns it as well as their physical likeness. I'm pretty sure Vince meant the character, because if you don't know, it's kind of illegal to own someone's real life birth name. So I'm pretty sure he meant the characters, but the way he worded it did not come out in such a way. So yeah, very, very odd situation going on here with the WWE. And of course, AEW was very quick to poke fun at it. Evil Uno started it off by saying, "Hey guys, I'm on Cameo and Twitch," on his Twitter account, with the whole, Dr. Wiley eyebrow thing, as I like to call it. And of course, they had the segment with Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian on All Out, and they also had a segment with Brody Lee admonishing Evil Uno for being on his phone and claiming he was on Twitch during BTE today. On, of course, this is Monday that we're recording this, so they are definitely having fun with this, and I don't blame them. This is a really stupid decision by Vince McMahon, but then again, in this day and age, how many good decisions has he actually had anyway? So, Karl, what are your thoughts on the whole third-party banning from WWE?
Oh, it's fucking stupid straight out the gate. Like you said, the guys aren't making as much money right now with the lack of house shows and everything else that's going on. So they're finding other ways to entertain and do what they can do on their downtime, and also make an extra couple of bucks doing it. That's what everybody's doing right now. A lot of gamers right now are starting up Twitch channels and stuff like that. Why? Because they want to make an extra couple of bucks during a pandemic when they can't get an actual job because jobs are hard to find. And these wrestlers finally actually getting some downtime, which is absolutely great for them, because it means less injuries and less having to travel on the road and less money that they're spending on that road travel and everything else. They get to be with their families and then maybe do a couple hours of gaming here and there. Make in terms of, I think Paige, she has her little Twitch channel where all she does is sort of talk, and she'll make $400-500 in a night. It's good money for those of you who have the ability to work it. And for Vince to turn around and go, you can't do that, you can't use your character name and you can't use your real name, it's bullshit. Yes, he might own. I think John Cena actually put it out there in an interview. Yes, Vince McMahon owns the name John Cena from a character standpoint for entertainment purposes. So if John Cena actually leaves WWE and doesn't have in his contract that he's allowed to use it in Hollywood, he can still get away with it because, well, he's like, well, I'm not using my John Cena character. I'm John Cena the person. It's the same reason why you don't see The Rock going out there and promoting himself as The Rock. He promotes himself as Dwayne Johnson. But he might act like The Rock at times, but it's only slight enough that he knows that he won't be caught up with Vince and the lawyers. But for Vince to come out and say, I own their real names, they can't use them on Twitch. No, sorry, that's wrong. You can't do that. That's purely illegal. It's not like all the people that are doing this are showing up and in their wrestling gear and doing stuff in character. They're there as themselves. Look at Miro, the former Rusev, and Lana. She'll come out and she's just being her when she's around him. Just being the wife that she is. She's not out there, pretending to be a faux Russian or whatever she is now, because she dropped the accent completely on TV. It's AJ Styles. Yeah, he probably shouldn't be using AJ Styles, but people know him as AJ Styles.
Actually, he owns his name, AJ Styles. He's one of there's very few people in WWE that actually owns their name, like Adam Cole.
Okay.
There's very few. It's like a small list of people.
Yeah, but it's sort of like it's almost like, you have to wonder what this is going to do with a lot of these channels, because some of these things have actually been integral to the popularity of the character. What's going to happen to Xavier Woods and Up, Down, Down?
Oh yeah.
It's been an integral part of the New Day being entertaining, is having the Up, Down, Down channel. But if they can't use that anymore, then that kills a gigantic revenue stream for Xavier. But again, it could just be that Vince just wants his bit of the pie. Vince wants control. It seems like every 5 or 10 years he goes through this phase where he goes into this ultra controlling mode and tries to lock down people in situations that he knows are illegal, but will try and do it anyway, because you got to remember, even though he has these people under contract, they are still independent contractors. That's the way that's why the way they classify for taxation purposes and everything else. So you can get away with all this dodgy shit. But it's one of these days, I hope the government or somebody actually turns around and just sits this old man down and says, "Hey, dude, it's not the 1950s anymore. These people aren't slaves; they're workers." Or hey, hell, somebody in the wrestling business actually gets enough balls to start a proper union. God, that'll fuck him over.
Yeah,
well, thank Hulk Hogan for not having that today.
Oh yeah, Ace Ventura. Yeah, not Ace Ventura, Jesse Ventura. Best Detective. But it's just really messed up, because I can go into details about it. I mean, there's tons of people done, like John Oliver, but it's simply because it's one of the reasons why he cannot do, and same thing with AEW on all their situations. They can't do shows in California, because California says all independent contractors must be recognized as employees. Well, and that's why Hollywood WrestleMania ain't going to happen, because that law passed. That means he has to pay them. And here's the thing, Vince. You don't want these guys switching to whatever, then pay them more money. You're rich, for God's sakes. You fired like half your roster. Nigel McGuinness is begging for pennies in London, so you clearly got the money. Pay them. If you don't want them to be on TV making internet bucks, then pay them the money they would have made, and they'll be happy.
Yeah, but publicly traded company and blah blah blah,
blah blah blah. Yeah,
stockholders and blah blah blah. So
blah blah blah.
Yeah, that's what happens when you go public, guys. Business becomes bullshit, and then bullshit just runs rampant. So
basically, that's why I respect AEW and even New Japan. They're privately owned, so they can say whatever they want, regardless of what happens to their company. So
no, New Japan is publicly traded, dude.
Oh, Bushiroad, that's right.
Yeah,
incorrect.
Bushiroad.
AEW. Yep.
But yeah, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the 450 Wrestling Podcast. Before we get on out of here, guys, any final thoughts you'd like to give? Carl?
I like turtles.
I like turtles.
Calm down, Darby.
But honestly, it's been good these last couple of weeks. I've only just started here on the podcast, but I found it very enjoyable, and especially when we have weeks like this where we are very positive about wrestling. We definitely need more positivity in the world of wrestling, especially in the world of wrestling podcasts. Everybody gets so hung up on what they don't like and what they hate about the business and everything else. But to have something positive like this week where we're giving everybody good stars, we're praising everybody for putting on good matches, this is what we need to see more of on wrestling podcasts. Because not only does it mean that we're enjoying ourselves, it means that the people listening get to enjoy ourselves as well.
Yeah, most definitely. And Matt, any final thoughts before we get on out of here?
Final thoughts. NXT should never be on Wednesday night. Just go another night. You do better that way. I'm serious. That's it. That's literally it. Please stop being on Wednesday nights. You're not going to win ever.
Pretty much. I mean, I hate to say the ratings, but they were actually much higher for NXT and AEW when they were unopposed and on their own nights. People want to watch both shows live, and some people don't have a DVR, some people don't have the network, so they're forced to choose, and they just want to watch good wrestling. So I agree with you there. So
Yeah.
So with that being said, gentlemen, this is going to bring us to the end for the 450 Wrestling Podcast this week. Thank you all for joining us. As always, hopefully you also enjoyed All Out. Please let us know if you did, and let us know what you think about the whole third-party situation with WWE. So for myself, JJ Piedra, for Matt, and for Karl, I'm saying Godspeed to all you out there in Radio Land. Peace. 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 Peace.